Well, the first news to share with all of you is that the prelims examination of this year is postponed. ठीक है? So the prelims examination for this year is postponed and now it is in June. Well, that is the first information और इस information के साथ थोड़ी excitement level students की, aspirants की बढ़ जाती है. The information which I want to give you today, which you already know by now, that the prelims examination is postponed to June now, जो कि मई के महीने में होने वाला था. So as I was saying, that this actually increases the excitement level among the students and aspirants, that भले ही बहुत ज़्यादा दिन से postpone नहीं हुआ है, but still there is a postponed thing which is there. Now, coming to the topic of our session today is a topic which I've been facing from day one I joined the Indian Express and also in my teaching career. कि क्या न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने से करंट अफेयर्स के सारे क्वेश्चंस हल हो जाते हैं? Is reading a newspaper enough for your current affairs? ठीक है, तो सबसे पहले तो आप लोग मुझे बताइए what are the sources which you study or you take up for your current affairs? Like for example, I think newspaper is one of the best sources for current affairs preparation. Just before going to the hot topic today about reading current affairs, knowing current affairs and newspaper, you must be hearing a lot that these days people are not, in general, not reading newspapers or are not consuming news in ways they used to consume earlier, maybe in our generation earlier. Because now we are watching more videos and that is why most of the times I am here doing some or the other videos for you. Now, the shift is there. The shift is generally there. It's there, which is marked by all over the world that people are not reading so much. But for UPSC aspirants, reading, revising, retaining, recalling, everything happens through the newspaper because newspaper is seen as a textbook for current affairs. Alright, so ये जो logic है कि लोग पढ़ कम रहे हैं, they are reading less and watching more is not very much, it doesn't go hand in hand with the UPSC preparation because if you have to prepare for civil services, if you have to prepare for any competitive examination, you have to read the newspaper. Now, अब इस क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं कि is reading the newspaper enough for your civil services preparation? Okay, तो जल्दी से एक फैक्ट आपके लिए मैं यहां पे लाता हूं, वो है the limitation of the newspaper. Newspaper का एक limitation है. Can anybody tell me what is the limitation of this newspaper which I'm holding? And newspaper का जो limitation, I'm not talking in the terms of content, so please don't divert this question towards content, but something which is physical. Okay, so a lot of people in the studio are raising hands. My producer knows the answer. What about you? So let me just tell you that you may see a lot of newspapers in the market. The page number of pages of newspapers are different in different newspapers, but when you take a newspaper like the Indian Express, which is ideally meant for so many students and aspirants preparing for different competitive examination and also UPSC, the limitation of a newspaper in general is the number of pages. Okay, so if I say the newspaper is a textbook for all UPSC aspirants, do you think 18 pages a day, जिसमें से I think 10 या 12 pages आपके काम के होंगे, others may not be very relevant for your exam, क्या वो sufficient है? The answer is no. Okay, so sorry to disappoint a lot of you. The answer is actually no, क्योंकि अगर हम trend देखें UPSC prelims exam के questions का और mains के questions का, they go beyond the headline. और इसीलिए मैं हर बार लगातार हर सेशन में whether it's a live session on Instagram or the recorded session on YouTube or the 3 must reads of the Indian Express जो कि मैं Monday to Friday almost every week करता हूँ आपके लिए, I keep on saying go beyond the headline. And when I say go beyond the headline, I mean that you need to read the news, but you also need to do a little bit of research around that topic. Okay, and when I say beyond the headline, I also mean beyond the pages of the newspaper. और उस समय आपको you must go through the website of the newspaper you are referring to. For example, the Indian Express का newspaper तो आप देख ही रहे हैं, but then there is indianexpress.com. Okay, also a lot of informative videos on Indian Express ka YouTube channel. Okay, so now when you go to these pages, you go to these websites, you find the number of news items are more. Alright, there are more items, there are more news, there are more content. Okay, तो जब हम पूछते हैं कि क्या न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना काफी है, the correct answer is it is essential. The newspaper reading is essential, but since the examination is getting difficult year after year, I would also ask you to widen your source of current affairs, and the best way to widen that source of current affairs is also to go to the website of the Indian Express, that is indianexpress.com. And as the discussion proceeds, I will also let you know that what are the certain advantages when you widen that source, you go to the website. Now, there are questions. Let's take up one question.
There's one question on which all pages, sections of a newspaper should we give more importance to if we are in a hurry?
Wonderful. That's a wonderful question. And I think, jab main bhi, also I would request my producer, if the name is there, just let me the name. So whenever I also pick up the best, the most important news item, I definitely look for pages. Let's go a little reverse. Let's go and discuss which are the pages which are not so important. For example, the city news, the city page is not very important unless that particular city news makes the headlines of the on the front page. All right. And then there are certain pages which talks about politics. Remember, not polity, but politics. By now, you know what is the difference between politics and polity, right? Answer. What is the difference between polity and politics? We have discussed earlier. So, जहाँ पे political news है, for example, many a times in government and politics page, when there is, so this page is government and politics. So government is something which makes sense to the civil services aspirant because there will be news around schemes and all. But politics wala portion you can leave. Of course, sports ka page you may leave, but if there is some big tournament, if there is some big series, if there is some, say, Olympics, or there is some winner or losers ka list, then sports become important. Alright, so वो छोड़ सकते हैं, business का page छोड़ सकते हैं if it is talking about private businesses, okay, or Sensex, तो आप वो छोड़ सकते हैं if you are preparing for civil services or like examinations, but you have to cover the economy portion. When I say economy, I'm talking about news related to economy, the government related news or the RBI related news, government bodies and organization related news. तब आपको those pages you have to do. So the starting should be, of course, the front page. Front page is very important, and after the front page you can, in Indian Express, you can go to the explained page. Explained page may be mostly those news which are directly connected to your syllabus are important. You might not go in the political explained news. But explained page is another page which you should directly go after the front page or covering the front page news. And opinion or editorial. Okay, abhi opinion or editorial ke liye bhi, you can be selective if you have less time. Of course, you do not have to dive deep into political based editorial or the opinion idea page, but which are directly related to your syllabus, you can look. So these three pages, the front page, the explained, and the opinion editorial or the idea page, that you have to cover. And if you get time, please look into the economy section. Now, a question aana chahiye, why am I not referring the world page? World page you can actually avoid if you are in a hurry, because these are the news which will be covered in large, say in the explained section or on the front page or in the editorial section if this is a big news, okay? और आपको हर दिन world news पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं. For example, war is going on, and if there is a news related to Gaza or Israel, or this is a long form of things which are happening, event which is happening over a long space of time. So you can, leave it for the end. All right. So that, but obviously go through the images, go through the pictures, look at the excerpts, what is written below the pictures, just to have a picturesque memory, and that will help you in your revision process. Also, it's not just about exams. It's about consuming good news. It's about getting aware, being an aware citizen. Okay, so every day is an exam when anybody younger to you or older to you ask questions of what is happening around you, around the world and around this country. तो आपको informed citizen की तरह काम करना है. Okay, so we'll take up more questions as they come. Now let's talk about what is the limitation of newspaper, and that's why I say that you have to go on to other sources. For example, big season is going to start and this season is the election season. Okay, newspaper की responsibility केवल UPSC aspirants को news serve करना नहीं होती है. Newspapers actually cater to the larger audience, people who would be interested in political news, what is happening in election, which politician said what, and this all will keep on coming in the newspaper. And of course, अगर आप Indian Express देखेंगे, decision 2024, election 2024 जैसे headlines के साथ news coverage होगा जब तक result नहीं आ जाता है, now even after that. Okay, now coincidentally your exams also fall in those months. All right, so you have to be very particular about this thing. Limited page, bigger news, but may not make sense for your examination. उस दौरान आपको indianexpress.com जैसी वेबसाइट पे जाना चाहिए, because there you will have a lot of news other than only election news. For example, I'll just take a small example. A lot of you are worried or worried about history, art and culture, especially people who do not come from history background. Everybody says मुझे history में काफी interest था but engineering कर ली है ना. So you have that interest in history but you have not developed the habit of reading good history topics or books. Now Indian Express का the research section cater those needs of your history preparation, or at least getting to know about interesting articles on history. For example, if I remember, recently there was an article on Maratha history in the research section of Indian Express, which is an online article. Okay, also recently there is this article which I was just reading today about a women in of the suffrage movement who worked for Indian women rights for voting. So ऐसा कुछ article है, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would go and you would find so many relevant articles from the perspective of Indian history, ancient, medieval, modern or world history, you will find there. Okay, so ये एक कुछ ऐसी चीजें हैं, there are these things which cover up the limitation of the particular newspaper, and that is the limitation of pages, one, and the limitation of content. With pages comes also content, because now you will see there will be a lot of election related news. Now my question to you is, मेरा एक सीधा सवाल है, इलेक्शन सीजन शुरू होने वाला है, न्यूज़पेपर में इलेक्शंस के बारे में तमाम खबरें होंगी. There will be so many news or so many articles on the elections. What is relevant for you? Can you tell me what are those relevant points in the elections which you should keep revising, retaining, recalling, reading for yourself? Okay, all election news are not relevant, लेकिन कुछ तो election के news होंगे ना जो आपके लिए काफी important होंगे. वो कौन सी ऐसी news है? You should tell me. For example, election commissioner का, there was one election commissioner who just resigned. Okay, and there was a political statement also after that. We saw in the newspaper. But what is relevant for you? आपके लिए क्या relevant है? Election commissioner की news से related आपके लिए क्या important है और क्या relevant है, ये आपको जानना चाहिए, बताना चाहिए. So can you tell me what is relevant about election commissioners, resignation? So कभी-कभी news directly बहुत important नहीं हो जाती, but indirectly it is important. All right, so
there are two questions.
One by one we can take, yes.
Same. Could you please suggest any magazine for the IAS exam?
Okay, so see, एक तो magazine के लिए मैं आपको ये बताता हूँ, magazine is a revision material. ठीक है, पहली चीज, magazines are revision material, they are not your first hand source. Okay, and you should not completely rely also on the first hand source. Now, पहली चीज, always pick up a magazine you should read to develop a good reading habit which has a government source in it. For example, you are aware that the ministry comes out with Yojana and Kurukshetra magazine. These are age-old magazines which still remain very relevant. Now, this other option is definitely you can go for some coaching guided magazine, but as I said, these are revision based magazine, and they are not accountable for what they are publishing. Okay, so you may have some facts here and there, but again, as I said, it's a revision based magazine. Now, a lot of people had this query last year and were always coming up with this problem that, Indian Express ka UPSC section hai, but, we need some consolidated material, some very, compiled material, and therefore we also came up with a UPSC Essentials magazine. Again, it's a value-added content. It cannot replace the newspaper. It cannot replace the first-hand news source. But it's a compilation of a value-added content which is published with a lot of responsibilities, keeping in mind UPSC aspirants. So obviously, you can pick up any magazine which is there in the market, but see your goal. What is your goal? Whether you are prelims focused or you have problem in mains, is there a magazine which caters the both? And obviously I said UPSC or any government body jaise publish hui magazine or literature becomes very important in the exam. Also, I'll just use this opportunity to restate that we have a UPSC Essentials magazine also, which you can subscribe for. Okay. So now I think we'll continue. We are coming towards the end of the session. I am going to talk about, the remaining days, the days you've got in hands for your prelims examination after this postponement of the prelims examination. Now, there are few things, these are habits which people do. एक बार announcement हो गया postpone होने का, and then you take a break. You say that okay, let's relax. Also होली आ रही है, तो हो सकता है वो break आप मजे करने के लिए आप उसको utilize करें. But that is not the real utilization. Days are actually very less between, the day where we had originally the exam and now the postponed date. It's not much. Also, don't forget CSAT has, become one of the major hurdles in a lot of people's aspirants' life. So this is the time where you must utilize it for your areas which you have not studied. Okay, or if you're done with revision, remember mains भी दूर नहीं है. अगर आपका prelims हो जाता है तो mains के लिए बहुत time नहीं रहता है. So you can utilize that time also. So this exam has not, postponed forever. There is a limited number of days जिसके लिए postponed हुआ है. Very rare in the history of UPSC that such kind of postponement happens. COVID के दौरान हुआ था, but now it's quite new for the UPSC. So please make the best use of it. Revise, retain, recall, and read new things if you can, if you want. Remember, current affairs जो है वो एक continuous process है. You can't stop reading newspaper. Yes, that reminds me that now you must read the newspaper till March 31st. Okay, so you must read the newspaper till March 31st. Everything remains relevant till March 31st, and current affairs ko to padhna hi padhna hai. The best way to utilize this time and to generate energy is to continue your preparation with current affairs. Now, in the end, I have come up with a new series called 3 Must Reads from the Indian Express, where we pick up 3 important news items, how to read it, what to read it, and why to read it in that particular series, which is Monday to Friday. Even you can tell me what are the more important 3 must reads according to you, and you can write to me at manas.srivastava@indianexpress.com. You can also tell us what other initiatives you want from our side in the form of articles or videos. Articles or videos के form में आपको और क्या initiative चाहिए, और हमारा पूरा प्रयास रहेगा that as a value added content we provide to you. That's all for me today. If there are other questions, or maybe you can mail me these questions at manas.srivastava@indianexpress.com. Let me also know which topic do you want me to take in the UPSC Essentials live with Manas. Yes, there's a question.
There's a question from Ansh. She's asking how many years current affairs is needed.
Okay, this is again a very relevant question, and thank you for this question. I should have taken up this earlier. Now, करंट अफेयर्स की कोई ऐसे यूपीएससी नहीं बताता कि इतने साल का करंट अफेयर्स जरूरी है। करंट तो मतलब आज का भी करंट हो सकता है और 1.5 साल पहले का भी करंट हो सकता है। बट यू नो द जनरल trend when you analyze the examination questions and paper, you will see that 1.5 years current affairs remain relevant. Okay, 1.5 years current affairs remain relevant. Also, the news which is continuing or which have been continuing since a long period of time. हो सकता है 2 साल पहले वाली करंट अफेयर्स की न्यूज आज फिर से रेलिवेंट हो गई है बिकॉज ऑफ सम डेवलपमेंट, सो इट बिकम्स रेलिवेंट. बट टू answer pinpoint to your question, the analysis has told that it tells us that 1.5 years news become relevant. Okay, with this I'll just end by saying one thing. Aaj ke newspaper mein there's a very important news which was relevant last year, and I remember I did a video on it. This is in Ladakh. Astronomy ambassadors are trained to offer a tour of the night sky. Now it talks about the Hanle village in Ladakh, and it talks about the Hanle village and the dark sky reserve or a dark sky park also. Now you have to keep in mind that this news which we did last year becomes relevant today again. तो जिन लोगों ने प्रीलिम्स की तैयारी उस समय नहीं की और आज की है, उनको समझना चाहिए that it has a pre-history to itself. All right. So all those who are veterans or who have prepared this exam for a number of time, they would understand that these things keep happening. और ये न्यूज़पेपर ही है जो आपको ये चीज बताता है कि ये न्यूज वापस आ गई है आज के करंट अफेयर्स के हिसाब से. इसलिए keep reading the Indian Express, think smart, work hard, conquer your goal. Bye-bye.